So, as Mr. Charlie introduced me, my name is Henry. I'm one of the public outreach coordinators for the Region 3 Early Childhood Intervention or ECI program. Now, some of you on the call may have kind of a passing familiarity with what it is that ECI does and what we do, who we are. But for those of you who may not know or are looking for a bit of a refresher, then here, let's go ahead and take a look. So, to kind of take a few steps back, the ECI program was founded, or the idea of the ECI program was created back in 1979. A small group of parents with children with disabilities, along with dedicated child care and medical professionals, stood on the steps of the Texas state legislature, united in the effort to get their children the help that they felt that they deserved. In one hand, they carried their children. In the other hand, they held boxes of letters, stories, testimonies, and statistical data that was intended to prove that families like themselves and other families with children with special needs needed extra help. The sheer volume of the findings that they turned into the legislature that year were shocking. They brought attention to an issue that no one had really considered before. A research committee was put into place, and in 1981, Senate Bill 36 was passed, and the Early Childhood Intervention Program became a statewide program available in every single county in the state of Texas. Since its inception, the Texas Health and Human Services Division, or Commission, the division that currently manages the ECI program, reports that services have been delivered to over 950,000 children from birth age up to 36 months who are born with developmental delays, disabilities, or qualifying medical diagnoses that would likely impact their ability to thrive later on in life. About 50,000 children every year are enrolled in the ECI program, and that 50,000 number is the number of kids that are across the state of Texas currently inside an ECI program by their host agency in their county. Now, I say in their county because to kind of operate without extensive governmental oversight, ECI contracts with different host agencies across the state of Texas, each with their own jurisdiction of pre-selected counties. The coverage area that I represent, that likely includes, I believe, everybody here on the call, is hosted by the Region 3 Education Service Center here in Victoria. Under their management, we have grown to cover 13 counties across the Golden Crescent. We cover Austin County, Calhoun County, Colorado County, DeWitt, Goliad, Gonzales County, which is actually our newest acquisition. We picked them up back in September of 2020. We cover Jackson County, Karnes County, Lavaca, Matagorda, Refugio, Victoria, of course, and Wharton counties, all underneath the Region 3 ECI banner. We are one of the few programs that's actually been lucky enough to work with and grow with the same host agency since the inception of the ECI program itself. So this last year, 2021, marked not only the 40th anniversary of the ECI program, it also marked 40 years that Region 3 ECI specifically has been serving the families and babies of the Golden Crescent. So we were very, very proud of that milestone. Across our service area, Region 3 ECI employs a field team of professionals that include physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, registered nurses, nutritionists, licensed professional counselors, LPCs, social workers, and case manager early intervention specialists that create teams for each family based on the needs of the child. And all services that we provide are provided in places where the child is most comfortable, whether that be in the child's home or the home of a family member. Child care or a daycare facility, we are known to do pretty often, a public park. Our office, or, as the coronavirus pandemic is still adding that element of uncertainty into our day-to-day lives, we are also offering services virtually over systems like Zoom and telehealth. We estimate that since our specific program began, we've delivered over 1 million different individual services to the children of the area, and we operate currently at just under 900 children currently enrolled in our program across our 13 county coverage area. Now, you may be wondering or asking yourself how we go about finding those 900 kids, how we go about delivering over 1 million different services in 40 years. And the honest answer is that we do it with quite a bit of help. The ECI program operates off of referrals that we accept from virtually any source. While most of our referrals do come from some of the more obvious places like daycare facilities, doctor's offices, pediatricians, PCPs, people who have that more obvious connection to children, the people you're bringing your children to. We also welcome referrals from family members, friends, teachers, CPS case managers, law enforcement professionals, anyone that has a heart big enough to recognize that this child may not have all the same opportunities as someone else, can send in a referral to our program and potentially have a child assessed. So once a need is identified and that referral is made, and a parent or guardian agrees to actually have their child evaluated by our program, we send a small team of what we call early intervention specialists who eventually become case managers for these families. They meet with family, they hear concerns, and they assess the child in a comfortable environment. Through parent interviews and play interaction, we're able to see and assess a child's level of developmental milestone achievement to find any areas in which a child might be missing important milestones. A child's overall development is assessed in 5 key developmental areas, those being motor skills, communication skills, cognitive ability, self-help skills, and social emotional development. Eligibility to the program can be determined in one of 3 ways, which you see here on the screen, whether that be a delay in one of the 5 categories that I mentioned here a moment ago. If a child is deaf or hard of hearing or has a visual impairment, those are automatic qualifiers, or if the child has a qualifying medical diagnosis. Qualifying automatic qualifier medical diagnoses include, but are not limited to, things like extremely low birth weight if they're less than a year old, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, seizure disorders, cleft lip or cleft palate, autism, drug withdrawal syndrome, or various other genetic conditions. From there, if the child qualifies and the areas of need are identified, a team is created with professionals in different disciplines, PT, OT, ST, which I mentioned before, to ensure that every area of need is addressed. Paying for ECI services is also something that I'm asked about quite often. The initial evaluation and developmental assessment case management services that we offer, creation of what we call the Individualized Family Service Plan, the IFSP, basically our plan of action for getting that family and that child everything that they need, and any necessary translation or interpreter services that we provide are all provided at no cost to the family. The services themselves, once a child is enrolled into the program, are billed to the child or the family's insurance. We accept Medicaid, we bill all private insurances, and then any out-of-pocket costs that do accrue are doled out on a sliding scale family cost sharing plan that ensures that cost is never a reason why a family is unable to have their children enrolled in our program. The family cost sharing plan considers a family's income, the number of dependents they have, tax exemptions to determine an affordable monthly payment. So one thing that we take pride in is the fact that we employ professionals in different disciplines across our entire coverage area. So the speech therapists, the physical therapists, the occupational therapists, they're all the ones that make up your team. They're all from where you are from. If you live in Austin County, you have probably seen Miss Esther Baker shopping around because she's the EIS who lives in Sealy. If you live in Gonzales, you've probably seen Angie Ballum and her daughter walking around HEB because that's where she's from. We employ a coaching model that is designed to help parents and caregivers incorporate beneficial intervention strategies into a child's daily routine, and being a part of the communities that we serve is a big part of that. The idea of this coaching model is that while our therapists are only with your family for maybe an hour or so out of the week, the family themselves is there every day. Each therapist that we have employs their wealth of experience and resources to determine which strategies can be implemented even when they're not there, which strategies are going to serve the child best, and incorporate the family and caregiver to learn these strategies so that they can implement the strategies when we are no longer around. This kind of interaction creates really, really strong and durable bonds between our therapists and our families that we serve. And I actually had an opportunity to see a lot of these bonds and kind of see the benefit that people have years after they've been through our program through a project that I undertook last year. It was a video series called ECI Alumni. All the videos can be found on our Facebook page. If you get a chance to go by and check them out, you can find us on Facebook at Region 3 ECI. The more of you that go check it out, the better my numbers look. So don't be afraid to click on it a couple of times. In the series, I had the honor of meeting with families that had gone through the program and were what we considered ECI success stories. Each video focuses on a different family and their journey from day one until the day that their family graduated from our program. Their testimony is freely given, and their praise for the ladies that helped them is not forgotten, as each family is able to recall the names of the people that were on their team, vivid details of things that they talked about, or the areas that our employees were able to help out, even years later, as the babies that we cared for are full grown into adults or on the verge of graduating high school now. So it's truly humbling to be a part of it. On that note, I'd actually like to share one of those videos with you. It's just a couple of minutes long. This is from one of our absolute favorite ECI babies. He is a huge sweetheart. His name is Sloan, and he and his mother are going to tell you the story of what a ECI was able to do for them in their own words, provided, of course, I get this video to work.
Okay, this is Sloan.
There we go.
This is my son. He's 13 years old. No, you're 14. You just turned 14 last weekend. He was a twin. He's a twin sister. They were born at 38 weeks, no complications. Pregnancy was pretty easy, except for the fact that he didn't move a lot. So he had a lot of stress tests done in the midst of my pregnancy just to check on him that he didn't grow at the same rate that his sister was growing. So they were born by C-section, both weighing. His sister weighed 6.5 pounds. He weighed 5.5 pounds. So they were rather large. Went home 2 days later. 2 days later, and then.
All right, that's totally me.
Okay, this is Sloan. Sloan is my son's. Pregnancy was pretty easy, except for the fact that he didn't move a lot. So he had a lot of stress tests done in the midst of my pregnancy just to check on him that he didn't grow at the same rate that his sister was growing. So they were born by C-section, both weighing. His sister weighed 6.5 pounds. He weighed 5.5 pounds. So they were rather large. Went home 2 days later. 2 days later, and then he just never really reached any of his milestones. And having other children, I knew that something was off with him. So by the time he was 6 weeks old, Sloan had lost the skill to suck and couldn't feed. So Dr. Nettler, our pediatrician, referred us to ECI for some feeding therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. We had a lot of therapists in the home. Yeah, they were there all the time. All the time. And they helped us, let's see, start with walking. He didn't walk till he was 3. It's just, they were there all the time, right?
All the time.
So they became more of a family to us because it didn't feel awkward them coming into the house. So we had occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy. We had all of the amazing women in our home all of the time. From the time he was probably 6 weeks old until it was time for us to transition to PPCD at that time. So when we graduated at 3, and they let us fly away. They were there for everything. The birthdays, doctor's appointments, and it was a part of finding out his diagnosis, because Sloan was diagnosed at 16 months old with autism and epilepsy, and a few other things, but the autism and the epilepsy and then apraxia were his, the labels that started to help him get more therapy and treatment. So from the time Sloan was diagnosed at 16 months until it was time for us to leave ECI, he began to walk. Like right as we were graduating ECI, he began to walk at the age of 3. still nonverbal at that time. Sloan didn't become verbal until he was about 9 years old. You would never believe that this child didn't say anything, but it used to be very quiet. So I can understand when parents say their child is nonverbal and how hard it is. We understand, but we made a lot of progress. Even though at times it felt very slow, the ladies always reminded me that it wasn't a race, that we were going to get there, and there was always a reason for everything. So they were our cheerleaders. They cheered on every success. Anytime he began to take a bottle again, or Beverly would do, we love her. Like, we see her in the grocery store, and we love her. But feeding him food, or he would try something, try a food that that he wouldn't eat. It was like we throw a party. So we celebrated a lot with the ladies. We still with all the women. Yeah. What's your name?
Oh.
Where do you go to school? How old are you?
14.
14. What is your favorite thing to do?
Work.
Work?
Yeah. Work. P.
PE?
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to eat?
Nuggets.
What else? Anything else? Anything else you want to tell me?
No.
What's your favorite thing to do?
Do
Anything?
paper.
Play ball.
Paper way.
Play ball with Rowdy.
Yeah.
Sloan is now 14, so we've grown a lot through the years. Of course, it's kind of seasonal in regards to struggles and triumphs. We're hitting the fun adolescent years, so there are struggles with that, and but he's doing great. He attends a great private school. He attends the Vine School, and this summer, well, pretty much for everyone, when COVID started, it was hard. We were kind of in lockdown and not able to go anywhere, and we didn't want him to go out and get sick due to other conditions, and he wasn't used to that. It was hard for typical people to be shut down, but for years we're trying to teach children with autism to get out of their bubble, and all of a sudden they were put back in their bubble. So COVID struck us pretty hard. So during that time, Sloan and our family started a little small business called Sloan Spreads. And Sloan Spreads is his business where he makes and sells different kind of jams and jellies, seasonal pepper jellies, peach, fig, all kind of different flavors, kind of seasonal, and all of the money goes back to the Vine School. It's a great place. So if you haven't heard of the Vine School, you should check them out. I just want to tell everyone at ECI, everyone from our caseworker, everyone, like we miss them. We owe them a lot. Thank them for always being there for us, encouraging us, and letting us know that the label didn't define him, that he was capable of great things. And I just want you all to know how special you are and the impact you make on our kids' lives. Thank you. Hi, I'm Jamie. And we are ECI alumni.
All right, that was Jamie and Sloan, two of my most favorite people in the world. And so I chose that particular video out of the series that we created because as Charlie mentioned in my introduction, in the last 2 years that I have been employed with ECI doing this public outreach, my son has actually become an ECI baby with a similar spectrum disorder that Sloan has. Not necessarily as to the point that Sloan's was. We were able to catch it pretty early, but it is something that even I, as a parent and somebody who professionally, his job is to reassure people that the stigma does not have to define anybody. It hit me pretty hard when the news actually was there. So if there's one thing that I think is a really solid takeaway from anything that I'm going to talk about today, or anything that I've talked about so far, is that there is absolutely nothing wrong with utilizing the services that are available to you. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging that some children just need a little bit of extra help. And the earlier that we can provide that kind of help, the overall better it is for the child, because the better chance we have at making sure that we can correct or give coping mechanisms to those children to make sure they don't have to worry about these things in the future. So as we are now here at the tail end of my presentation, the last matter that I really wanted to bring up and discuss or address was a question that I hope is on your mind as of right now, and that's, how can you help? What can you do? And the answer is pretty simple. It's doing basically what you're doing right now. Listening, learning, and understanding what it is that programs like this across the state of Texas do. Our program and the ECI programs all over the state of Texas, they operate on and thrive on community awareness. The more people that know about what we do, who we do it for, and why we do it, the better chance we have at catching that little 6-month-old baby who wouldn't otherwise have had a chance. The better chance we have at getting more referrals, to see more children, to catch more issues, to operate as early as possible to make sure that we have as much time as possible to give each baby as much of a chance to thrive as they can get. So you may not run into a child today who has a need for services like this. It may not be tomorrow, but my hope is that by you allowing me these few minutes of your time today to tell you about what this program that I am blessed beyond measure to be able to be a part of, to teach you about it and to tell you what it is that we do, that day, if you ever do see a child that might need a bit of extra help, you've got an extra tool in your arsenal that you can offer that family to ensure that that baby gets every chance that it deserves. So with that, if there are any questions at all, I am happy to answer them. That is my presentation. Thank you so much for this time of yours today. I'm sincerely appreciative of it.
Thank you, Henry. We really learned a lot. Nancy, Jody, and I visited Henry's place of employment at ECI 3, Region 3 ECI. It's at the campus of Memorial, what was Memorial High School for the VISD. And you had several rooms in there that you took us through, Henry, and they were all different setups for different types of challenges that these kids go through. And could you just kind of touch on what each of those were?
Absolutely. So as part of the enrollment services and the services that any child or family receives while they're part of our program, we offer supplemental services at our offices that are all designed around a little bit of extra attention in certain fields of disciplines of need. But there are also opportunities for children to build social skills. So there are a couple different classes that we hold. One is called Little Movers. Little Movers is obviously designed about giving extra attention to physical therapy. It's an hour-long class once a week where kids come through and they work through obstacle courses. They work on fine motor and gross motor skills on a more social basis. We found that while children are basically sponges in the first couple of years of life, when they are also able to see peers of their own age making those same types of actions and making that same type of progress, they are much more likely to imitate and be able to take that into themselves as well. So Little Movers is a class designed to help kids get up and moving. Music Makers is one that is there for basically any child that we have in our program, but it shows them the idea of healthily making noise, playing instruments, building a love for music, opening up different synapses and connecting left and right brain to get everything as flowing and get everything as open as possible. We have a class called Little Learners, which is available to some of our older children in the program, which is essentially a condensed preschool day in an actual classroom setting at our office to help children transition from being at home to being able to make it through an actual day of preschool. There's a full curriculum that we offer through the year, and it's all designed to help children move on to the next stage of life. There are other programs and things that we're working on instituting. We've just gotten certifications for one of our therapists to pick up and create a class called, we have infant massage, baby yoga, which is something that we are about to roll out here within the next few weeks. We have just gotten one of our nurses certified as a lactation specialist, so that will be something that we'll be able to offer as well as just an added service that Region 3 ECI is able to offer to the families because of how much success we've been able to find in helping families with so far.
Henry, something I asked you in preparation for this, back in November, we had Dr. Rachel Rube with Waco Family Medicine, and she talked about fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. Can you relate any of these challenges to either substance use or alcohol use, abuse during pregnancy, or it doesn't matter, but I mean, they need the help regardless, but is there any link that you know of that kind of explains some of these challenges?
Well, absolutely. That in and of itself, withdrawal symptoms from that children experience when their parent or when their mother is using while they're in vitro are very real. They're automatic qualifiers for our program. We've had, unfortunately, handfuls of children that we've enrolled with those symptoms that we've had to work through just getting them curbed off and then dealing with the effects of what all those things leave once we start getting kind of that stuff out of their system. But it's a very, very real, unfortunate situation. As far as I'm aware, some of the more like autism spectrum disorders, I'm not aware of any kind of link there specifically, but there's still a lot of things that we don't really know about spectrum disorders. So there are things that we're learning every day.
Henry, one of my most immediate thoughts when you were talking and even talking about linking services and community awareness is that's really a lot of what we want to do at this symposium. So we want to make sure that we put you on a list to at least have a table or some information out, because we're really hoping to be able to help the community make links for, what is available. So
absolutely.
I'd
love to attend. Love to attend.
Awesome.
I want to share a little bit from my past vast experience. I raised a special needs stepson from the time he was 16 for about 10 years, and he passed away at age 27, unfortunately. He was in Bryan and College Station VISD or ISDs, and he was born microcephalic. He was tactile defensive. He had autism. He was developmentally delayed in a number of areas. And any help that he got, even in high school, well, he was in high school by the time I came into his life. All the help that he got through therapy, speech therapy, all those skills that they try to teach them in special needs helped us immensely as a family. And it was very important that we got him involved. He went to state Special Olympics up in Arlington a couple of years. We went with him. All those things that we did as a family just to include him in an active lifestyle came back to us in waves, as far as being able to help and manage his conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned in the presentation, the coaching model that we utilize, it's all about the family basically, we're there to provide help. We're there to provide techniques and protocols and procedures and to ensure that everything is moving the way that it's supposed to. But the most success that we see is when the family is involved, is when we actually have an employee now whose son is a junior at East right now, and is actually when he was born, he has severe autism as well, similar to what Sloan has, and he is one of the first children, from what I understand in VISD history, who was actually removed out of the PTCD program because of how much he had excelled. And he is currently in the running for valedictorian of his class, and is looking at medical schools to go to. But he was in our program as a child. As soon as our therapists were gone, his mother was involved with flashcards, with implementing all the techniques. Every single thing that we gave her, she put into practice. It scores more than we were ever anticipating, and that led to exactly what her son is now. A beautiful ECI success story, a beautiful story of overcoming adversity that way, and just an inspiration to the people around him. So the more that families can be involved, the overall better it is for the child themselves.
Absolutely. We have any other questions? We still have a little bit of time on the clock here.
There you all are.
Well, thank you so much, Henry, for the valuable information, and we will be in touch. And like Jody said, we're going to have some tables for our agencies and at the symposium in May, and you're more than welcome to set up and help spread the word. A lot of networking going on and that kind of stuff.
Yes, sir. I'll be there. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate the time you've given me today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, we'll see you next month, hopefully. Tell some friends about the symposium, please. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.